my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. We are talking in the United Kingdom about money given to the people who live in the UK by the British government. Then we also look at life and generally in terms of development and in terms of culture. We're talking progress. Watch this video alongside the rest of the video for the program, for the project to make sense, because this is a continuation of what we had the previous time. The benefit we're talking about has to be claimed, and there are a lot of elements. I am concentrating on one chunk of the benefit system to illustrate what is a social issue, also a political and policy infrastructure in the UK. What happens in the United Kingdom happens across the globe. So if you are not one living in the UK, take take a consideration to also understand what happened here, because what happened in the United Kingdom happened across the globe. I've repeated this point overly, and this is because it is central to understanding, to try and make sense why I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this to report a situation in the UK, also potentially across the globe, involving the economic system known as capitalism. Capitalism is important to produce wealth in the world, and also important to promote the system of the market economy. The difficulty with the market economy, like I said in the previous video, is where it fails to produce social equality. In the contrary, producing social inequality in terms of wealth concentrated in the hand of the few, as opposed to wealth being accessed by the majority of the people living in the country. And this has led to social inequality in terms of wealth distribution. There are a lot of people who believe to be wealthy, but the credit economy distorted the outlook as to whether people might or might not be poor or rich. And I've mentioned this before. Watch this video and the rest of the videos. Thank you so much, everybody who have been helping to watch this video and sharing with family and friends. Clicking notification bell and also clicking liking, giving a feedback. Feedback is extremely important. Some people think the program is perfect, is fantastic. Other people think it is repetitive. Others think one thing or another. But what I'm trying to say here is to give a representation of what happened in the world, looking at the UK, looking at specifically at the system of money given to the British people. But this actually illustrates the social policy in the United Kingdom. Social policy is part of the public sector policy as well, essentially, because the social sector sits as part of the public sector. Public sector is being reduced because of political reasons across the globe. There is something called privatization, which means wealth of the nations are being transferred by system of the market, being wealth being sold by transference of this national wealth into the end of private individuals who already, as it is, are multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. And this is actually the core of the issue, because what this does is producing a type of violence, a sort of disrespect for people who should naturally access world resources. And it is a type of brutality associated with this exercise, where government presiding over a political infrastructure to promote capitalism, which is a good thing in my opinion, but the marketized element, the extreme marketization, which is actually associated with privatization, is the problem. Because privatizing the economy at the expense of the public sector has seen millions and billions increasingly across the globe falling into abject poverty. Now, abject poverty is a type of problem which kills. And my invitation to the United Kingdom government is to get the British people out of poverty. The credit economy may have distorted the idea of poverty, where people who are actually poor think they are rich. For example, people buying a property to live in by accessing the mortgage system, which is the credit system. Credit is a system when you borrow some money and you remain there in debt, and when you are in debt, you have to look to pay the money back, and if you fail to pay the money back, if you lose your job, then you are going to be in serious trouble. The significance of how money given by the government in the UK, similarly given in Europe and America across the globe, is that this money provides something called income. And income maximizing is really essential in alleviating poverty and also the crisis associated with poverty, such as we have seen with the cost of living crisis recently. And things like that can be reduced or even eradicated if the level of income given by the government increases. And that is my invitation to the UK government, to increase the level of money given to the people who do not work, who need it. And also, on the one hand, on the other, we also need a situation of government giving money to people, to supporting the market, the employment market, so that people get paid substantially enough to substantially allow the British people to access the minimum wage or the living wage at a higher level. And in my opinion, I've given £30,000 net after tax and national insurance when you're working. This, in my opinion, and I'm a lay person, in my opinion, it will get the British people out of poverty, and the British people need to speak out. I know there is a tendency in the developed world, especially in Britain, for people to be gentle and really allow trusting the government, which we should trust the government, but there comes a time when we have to exercise our democratic right and our freedom to speak out to the government using the mechanism of the local leadership and local governance, such as accessing opportunities to contact our members of parliament and also our council leaders through family network, community network, to make sure they know what we need in terms of income, because poverty is not necessary in a country like the United Kingdom, where money is a lot in supply and also in abundance. Britain being the 6th richest country in the world, and in any developed world, also in Africa, increasingly there is enough wealth to go around to lift the people of the world out of poverty. I've been saying this. I've been also insisting and also reminding viewers that I will be stopping from time to time to make a general commentary, which I exercise at the start, at the outset of this program. My original intention is to look at the specific policy, which has to do with money given to the United Kingdom, because we operate the system of the rule of law, and every policy based on the law is specified, including within the social sector, within the humanitarian sector, or where money is given to people who need it. And in addition to employment is related to money given by the government, because they both contribute the fundamental source of the primary source of income in the United Kingdom is through employment, or self-employment, and on the one hand, and also on the other, money given, such as I'm talking about. Universal credit, which is the type of money named by the government, is the main area of help known as benefit in the UK, and that's why I find it sufficient to speak about universal credit, because if we talk about universal credit, we talk about the rest of the element of the benefit system. So let us look at a specific. Continue watching, stay tuned. Thank you so much. So stay tuned, continue watching. When we get this money, there are situations where we would be required by the UK government to do certain take actions to not only access this benefit, but also to sustain these benefits, there is something called reporting changes in circumstances. As often we face different circumstances in our lives, and also in the life when you are getting money from the government, there are circumstances which may change from time to time, which may impact your system as benefit system operates. So you make sure to tell the Universal Credit Helpline to make sure to tell the Universal Credit Helpline of any changes in your circumstances straight away. When we talk about the Universal Credit Helpline, we're talking about the government department dealing with this money, known as Universal Credit, which is what the government has chosen to name. And the line is actually online on gov.uk. Watching this video, please watch with the rest of the video as well. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, continue watching, and these are actually online. They are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. and calls are free from mobiles and landlines. So we'll talk about universal credit hardship payments as well. And these are some of the aspects of the benefit, because the benefit system is so scattered all over the place. That is why we normally try our best to look at the very element so that it makes sense to us. Thank you so much. Continue watching. So we have been looking at money given to the people of the United Kingdom. If you are watching, thank you. Stay tuned, continue watching, and thank you so much for your being around. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And we are looking for at money. We are looking at the specific element, but I will also be stopping from time to time to make comment. Sometimes if you are in a relationship with the government department, and you are claiming benefit, something called benefit, which is money, which I've been talking about, which I have stopped to repeat from time to time, so that people try to, because it's a complex system, and sometimes the points are repeatable. You can challenge the decision of the government. If you're not happy with their decision, you challenge their decision. It's called mandatory reconsideration. So you have been warned that you might be sanctioned, and you think the sanction would be unfair. You should explain why and give your reason and evidence. If possible, you can use the arguments below to help you. This is our guidelines from gov.uk. It's a government website in the United Kingdom, but also can be found in the website of other organizations such as Citizen Advice or Shelter. These are all big organizations in the United Kingdom. But what happened in the UK, as I said previously, also happens in the rest of the world. So take care to check and take a keen interest. I already said, the best way to solve some of your problems to understand it. So my encouragement, the center of this purpose, because income in the United Kingdom is critical in livelihood. So I am trying to go through this material so that to show that this, the information is there, but it's so complex. You need professionals to help you, but the professionals are not being paid by the government because they need funding. The government is not funding this organization for political reason, because an ideological reason, because the government is planning to shut down the public sector, and because there are lack of resources. Even though these organizations are there, they struggle to help people, and this is just one element of government policy. It's about money given in terms of my interest is actually to illustrate the situation of income for the British people, because benefit is one fundamental area of income in the United Kingdom compared to employment. A lot of people know about employment, because if you work for a living or you don't work for a living, you can face a situation of employment. You have to work as employed, or as employee, or self-employed. I've mentioned this before. So I said I will be mentioning it to emphasize, to put a logic about this exercise. So if you are being sanctioned, you can ask for the Department of Work and Pension to rethink their decision to sanction you if you think they shouldn't have sanctioned you. This is called mandatory consideration. Mandatory consideration. You are asking for the Department of Work and Pension to look at their decisions again. I've already said it before, and I said it again, that sanction as a policy should be scrapped because it is a very bad policy for the British people and for the people of anywhere in the world. The situation with Britain, when it put forward a policy, the rest of Europe and the rest of the world will follow. So what happened in the UK is so important, and especially about the money. But the reason I go into this detail so that people understand that this situation is really serious and it is complex, it is a government material, and what is significant is that people should realize that going forward, the government will be shutting down a lot of things, especially things to do with the public sector. And this policy is quite similar to policy on housing, which is very important in the United Kingdom, is similar to transport, public transport, healthcare, the national health service in the United Kingdom. If there are difficulties in one area of policy, such as policy on money, in terms of benefit and employment, look at employment in terms of what the major problem. I mean, there are a lot of problems in employment, but what is similar to what happened in the benefit system is actually the pay system of pay. Sometimes employers don't pay their employee on time. Sometimes they pay less, or they overpay and they have to get the money back. It's quite similar to the system of benefit because we are human. We have a system, sometimes it fails, and a lot of complexity. And when it happens, how it is solved, and that is why I'm actually talking about this so that people are aware. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think, and feedback is extremely important. So you do a mandatory consideration. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. And so you get information from the Department of Work and Pension, and if you want to access information, the Department of Work and Pension holds on you. You need their permission first. So if you're acting on behalf of somebody and you want to get information on their behalf, maybe you are an advisor. This is the kind of situation you get. Getting permission is from getting from somebody you are representing, like a client. So, for example, you will need to fill in a form from the Department of Work and Pension and get your client to sign it, and it can take up to a month for the Department of Work and Pension to agree for your request. This is a situation involving advisors or some independent bodies from the government department who might be helping. So let us look at the sanction notification. If you have been sanctioned, you should have got a sanction notification, the information given to you to let you know that you have been sanctioned, which will tell you what you have been sanctioned for. Example, not attending an interview or missing a training course. These are part of claim and commitment. I've already mentioned them, and it's really important. All these policies should be scrapped because they are a burden to people who are claiming money, because these people claim money and it is not really something which should be done to them. Not attending an interview or missing, because this information will be in a letter, or if you use the digital service posted on your Universal Credit online account. If you have lost a letter, contact the Universal Credit helpline and ask them to tell you the details, or send you a copy of the letter. You'll mention Universal Credit helpline as being available. The numbers are online at gov.uk, and also their opening hours we have mentioned over and again, from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. Calls are free from mobiles and landline as always. So when the process of asking for mandatory consideration, and which is something you can do, you can ask the Department of Work and Pension could consider your decision if any of the following applies. You can produce some of this argument. You did the activity that the Department of Work and Pension say you did. So you will tell the Department of Work and Pension that the sanction is a mistake. They should actually check and consider it, and you provide evidence as always to the Department of Work and Pension if you did do the task that the Department of Work and Pension says you didn't do. You should ask the Department of Work and Pension to consider the decision to sanction your benefit. So you will have to give them evidence that you did the task. This is obvious. For example, a copy of your application form for a job or a letter from a company confirming you are attending training or work experience. These are tedious. These are actually claim and commitment which should be closed down. You don't need those things when you are getting help from the government. Conditions are too many and too complex, and I've been going through them, so people will, especially people living in the United Kingdom, should know the element, the situation, because I've been saying a lot of things about criticizing the government about the way they give this money because of the political reason, because of ideological reasons. They are closing down the public sector and they are squeezing out the British people out of accessing resources. Let us look at if you had a good reason for not being able to complete a work-related activity, you shouldn't be sanctioned if any of the following reasons apply to you, or you have another good reason not listed below. Talk to the Department of Work and Pension straight away and ask them to reconsider your sanction. This is what I'm trying to be talking about, to let you know complicated the situation. The Department of Work and Pension can use your own judgment, their own judgment about whether you have a good reason. However, they must be reasonable and make your circumstances, take your circumstances into account. So we're looking at their advice, decision maker information. This does not relate to you and I. But all this information can be obtained from gov.uk online, and you could also go to the public library in the United Kingdom. But if you are actually abroad, including in the United Kingdom, you can access the internet. Most of the information we've been talking about is online. Stay tuned. Thank you so much. Continue watching. So continue watching. There is something in universal credit known as benefit card, and if it is cut, if your benefit is cut, then there is something also called benefit sanction. We have discussed what benefit sanction is. It means you have done something you shouldn't have done, and this may actually lead to your benefit being cut, either due to sanction or due to penalty for fraud or something similar to that. And you might be able to get some emergency money to help you cover household expenses like food and bills. And we have been talking about this, and stay tuned, continue watching. This is called the hardship payment. Hardship payment is the kind of money you can actually get, and this could potentially be either a loan. Hardship payment is normally it is a loan. Loan is some money you borrow which you have to pay it back. So when you get this loan known as hardship payment, you will usually have to pay it back when you are when your sanctions end. Sanction is when you have done something wrong. It's actually it's a temporary measure to punish people who break the rule of benefit. And I've already said this is a wrong policy. It should be scrapped because these people are in need, and the government should change the policy such that benefit sanction should be removed. There should be some other form of dealing with problem when problem arises. So the job center will usually get the money back by taking an amount of money from your universal credit payment each month until it is paid off. Because like we said in the other materials, universal credit is paid every month. Therefore, you can also apply for hardship payment to help you until your next universal credit payment occurs. And hardship payment is loan, like we said, you pay it back. That was what it means. If you are still in a hardship the following month, you will need to apply for another hardship payment. This is theoretical. In practice, it's more complicated than that, but like I've discussed elsewhere, I'm discussing here as well. If you're struggling, then therefore there are things you can do to shape on the cost of living. We talked of the cost of living before. This actually relates to the cost of living. There is a difference between the cost of living and the cost of living crisis. And the cost of living is something which occurs without a crisis. This money is intended to do the purpose or benefit, like I have discussed previously. I'm repeating this point, is because people may not be in a situation to earn a living for one reason or another, and in the prospect that we find that people will need a certain type of help in a country, especially in a modern country where everything is subjected to money, such as the basic, including food, energy, water, housing, transport, healthcare, and all these other, if you want to taking your children to school, especially if you're in Africa. And it is so controversial, to say the least, that the level of benefit system we find in the United Kingdom, when I talk of benefit, I'm talking about money given by the government to the British people and the people of the developed world generally. There are slightly different systems, but they are fundamentally the same because of globalization, and globalization is actually there promoting something called harmonization. If you see it in one thing happening in the UK, you also see another thing happening in your country. That is why all the more reason I say to people watching this, to pay attention to what happened in the United Kingdom, in addition to paying attention to what happened in their country, whether you're in Africa or in any of the developed countries, because of something called harmonization. I keep repeating this point because it is quite central to what is happening around the world. Which people need to really know. This material is intended to educate, but also an exercise of pointing out certain fundamentals in our society. I've talked in terms of development, but also talking repeatedly about our cultural economy. And when we do both, we get a more stable society in terms of progress. And the cultural economy, as I have put forward repeatedly, a cultural economy means respect for self and for others. If you balance this out with development, you get more stability, because sometimes the society can be extremely violent when culture fails. And in my opinion, it's humanitarian. Is creating a lot of problems. The wars happening in the Middle East, in Asia, and also in Russia and in other parts of Africa. There are always certain crises, such as the climate change and all this, and technological change. Technology is on the increase, and what it does, it increasingly will be taking work away. There is something called technocracy, which is a way or professionalizing, to making a professional, to kind of like making every form of employment professional, because you need to be a professional. It doesn't matter what you do. Even if you are a cleaner, even if you are a driver, you have to do it professionally. That is called technocracy, which is a transitioning in terms of employment from human to machine, because machine is going to be the ultimate profession, taking away work, which is, in principle, if we can get our cultural economy in order, it's going to be a good thing. The technology taking away work is going to be a good thing. And so this is the point I generalize. I also mention it by referencing this comment to the basic of what is a concrete policy of money this policy of money is important because it relates to public policy, and also it actually relate to how it explain how things are moving within the economic atmosphere. So let us look about on let's look at eligibility criteria, and you can get the hardship payment if you meet all the following eligibility criteria. We have discussed eligibility criteria before in terms of other elements of the payments, because we talk about a policy objective because it's so complex and it is so many. So if you you must be 18 years as in adult, as in the criteria eligibility 16 if your payment is reduced because of fraud. And these are some of the conditions, and this is some of the payments which you may or may not get. If you are to get this hardship payment, you have to be 18 or over 16 if your payment is reduced because of fraud. We took all fraud for younger people, but you must be struggling to meet your basic needs on the basic needs of a child or a young person if you are responsible for one. And this is Outlook, and continue watching, stay tuned. So when we talk about basic needs, we talk about accommodation, things like basic needs, including things like accommodation, eating, food, and hygiene. You will also only be eligible if the reason if the reason you can't meet these needs is because of the sanction. It has to be specific, has to be sanction specific. These are some of the policy. I'm just giving you a flavor of what happens, and also giving a comment and to criticize or compliment the policy. You must have made a very every effort to stop spending money on non-essential things. Non-essential things is something we discuss about. The youth center expects you to only spend money on the on meeting basic needs. So they might expect you to spend less on entertainment or leisure activities. So that is the attitude of the state. We have made comments in the other videos. You must have done everything you can to get money from other sources before you can apply. And therefore, the youth center should be reasonable about what you can do in your circumstances. As in all things law and policy, the meaning of reasonability is anyone's guess, because you know we talk about discretion of the government officers to decide what is reasonable and not reasonable. For example, you won't be expected to sell your belongings or move house or get bank loan or credit card, but you could be expected to ask friends or family for money. You must have looked for other benefits, example from your local council or local charities, or ask for extra hours if you work. So the government attitude by these policy is not to actually pay this money, because you see, this money is associated with the public sector. So the government have a political agenda across the globe, not just in the developed world or in the West, is to close down the public sector. And in the UK, the benefit system is quite big. So the government has really made policy so complicated as to prevent people from accessing benefit. A lot of people actually are not aware of this, and a lot of people who still work for a living, my advice is to do your best to keep your job. If you lose your job for one reason or another, or don't even fall sick, if you fall sick, you're going to be in serious trouble. Or if your organization shuts down and then you cannot continue to work because your organization of work you're working for are shut down, you're going to be in trouble, and it will affect your housing, it will affect your healthcare support, it will affect all sort of situation. You know, you may even not even be able to buy food. So I've been mentioning this again and again. So let's go back to this material to continue discussing this. You must have done all the work related activities that you were supposed to do in the 7 days before you apply for hardship payment. We have discussed this condition because these are tough conditions which the government has put. And my criticism of it is that it is so tedious, it is so taxing, and it has to be changed. So let's look at the advice for decision makers, ADM guideline. We are not going to do that because we are not decision makers under these circumstances. The decision makers know where to get this information. They get it online. Like I have sent the rest of the viewers, if you live in the UK, if you live abroad, and you are curious to know what is happening in the United Kingdom, you do well to access online gov.uk government policy government website. Then also all the other charitable organizations or charities in the United Kingdom which provide information and services on social welfare. And these I have mentioned in the other video. Watching this video, you can watch with the rest of the videos as I mentioned. Stay tuned, continue watching. So stay tuned and continue watching, and thank you so much for your help. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed, and leave click a notification bell, and click like and leave a comment below. Thank you very much. Continue watching. We talk about money in the United Kingdom for people who may need money in one way or the other, and sometimes you get in a situation of sanction. We will talk about sanction, we'll talk about hardship payment, we'll talk about the specifics, the basic elements of this money and the condition for accessing and maintaining these payments. And leave a comment below what you think about this kind of money. It relates to social policy, like I said, I keep repeating this point. And the logic there is that what happened in the United Kingdom happened across the globe. So even if you are not in the United Kingdom, be sure to have a curious mind to understand what happened in one country other than concentrating on your country, because we live in a global world. Our global world allows us to exercise our rights in respective countries, but also exercise our rights globally. So if you have knowledge, you are better off than somebody who might not have knowledge. Let's looking at the situation. If you are not eligible for hardship payment, like I said, is discretionary, is a loan which you pay back. If you're not eligible for hardship payment, if you can apply for hardship payment also, there may be other ways to get help with living costs while you are on a sanction. You can also find out how to apply for this help. You will need to ask the Department of Work and Pension how to apply for the hardship payment in your local area. You can contact the Department of Work and Pension by updating your journal in your Universal Credit account. We said the Universal Credit is actually applied for online. You keep a journal, or in the main, that's the primary way to actually claim this benefit. Contacting your nearest job center is one way you can do. You can find their contact details on gov.uk. I've said this before. So you can call Universal Credit Helpline, and this will be on gov.uk and on the other websites as well. So as you can see, they are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Calls are free from mobiles and landlines. So giving evidence when you apply, you have to provide evidence. We have mentioned this before. You must give any evidence they ask for to support your application. This is for hardship payment. It's not like as if you're talking about the same thing, but it is true. But we're talking about hardship payment because you have to be specific to know what they really need. They may need one thing in dealing with one type of benefit, but also they may need another rule for another requirement. They have other rules for other forms of benefit. So you have to be specific all the time. That's why sometimes some information are repeatable. So this aspect of information is repeatable across the different element of benefit. For example, if you are to explain, we are continuing to look at hardship payment, which is a type of money. What you have done, this falls under universal credit. So you have done to find other sources of financial help, what other income or saving you might have to help pay your costs. The attitude is not to pay you this money, because the attitude of the government is not to pay money to people anymore. They want people to be on benefit. They don't want people to. They don't want to give any money. They don't want to actually impose their views on employers. Such that the government is also not keen to increase the level of pay or minimum wage or national minimum wage. I would say this already. So people need to prepare or to understand or also to try and also engage more politically with the local government and really speak out, because the British people shouldn't be in poverty. So let us look at this material anyway and carry on looking at this. So what you have done also to reduce your non-essential costs, you have to explain this to the Department of Work and Pension for them to be convinced you need help. For example, entertainment costs. If saying entertainment costs, if they find that you have been spending money or failing to reduce on non-essential like costs, such as entertainment costs, you will not be able to get the money. So which living costs you are struggling to meet, you have to be specific. So you are almost inquisition into a submission. So this I have actually mentioned over again. I'll be repeating them as of necessity. So it will help your application if you can show a budget or financial statement that shows your monthly income and living costs. They will then be able to clearly see what you are spending your money on. So you have to really, you are trying to walk naked in the face of strangers because you're getting money from the government. So they make you actually expose you like you are going into a surgery in the hospital. This is a cruelty. I have been very critical of this approach, and this system should change immediately. What the government needs to concentrate on is to raise a level of money given to the British people, but also if you work for a living, the level of pay should be mandatorily increased by supporting small and medium businesses, and also working with big organizations which are multi-million and multi-billion organizations. Some of them are multi-trillion organizations to support pay level in the UK. That is the best way to get the British people out of poverty, instead of complicating the benefit system and the employment system. It should be made simplified. It should be made simple by simplifying the policies and also the practices. So stay tuned, continue watching, and continue looking at this material. If you're not sure how to do a budget, the budget planner from the Money Advice Service could help with this. But you see, the budget planner, you need some time to access online, and if you don't know how to use computer, it may not be straightforward. They might prove to be complicated. Normally it is important that people realize when they read this information that some of this material will tell the individual reading this material or listen to this information that you need the help for professional. But the difficulty with professional is that the lack of resources. The government needs to be funding them, and if you can talk to your member of parliament, then do so that the government can change their policy on welfare benefits. So you can download and print a copy at the end. This is to talk about the system, online system for money advice facility. So let's look at financial statements. The guideline on producing a financial statement for people who might need the help, how much you will get. So we're looking at the amount of money you can get. The hardship payment is roughly 60% of the amount you were sanctioned by in the last months. If you are still struggling to cover your costs, there may be other ways to get help with living costs while you are on a sanction. So let's check if you have to pay back your hardship payment. If paying back the hardship payment is causing you serious harm, the Department of Work and Pension might agree to reduce or cancel your repayments. Get help from an advisor to check what you can do. And we talked about advisors before, and this is not easy, but you need to try. The Department of Work and Pension discretion to waiving your payment. This is discretionary situation, which means they can decide to waive your repayment, but normally in practice they really don't do, because their attitude is to give you, to frustrate your benefit getting, so that you kind of like do something else with your life other than staying in benefit. And the excuse is seen in the complexity of this policy, but their agenda is to, political agenda is to close down the public sector anyway. The Department of Work Pension has a discretion to the DWP has a discretion to reduce or cancel your repayments if you are in debt with them in the loan situation, the hardship payment situation. So they will only do this in a rare situation. Like I said, for example, if you have a severe health problem or financial hardship, severity of your health payments, health condition is a question of what the Department of Work and Pension will decide. Normally, they don't really pay much attention because they are not medical doctors and they don't listen to doctors anyway, unnecessarily. And also, if you are writing to the Department of Work and Pensions to ask them to reduce or cancel a repayment of hardship, explain your circumstances as much as you can, or get the get some help from the professionals. Like I said, getting help from the professional is not necessarily easy, but also explain to them why repayment is causing you hardship. And these are actually the information. In practice, the experience is really very complicated. This is a complicated system which the government should really change policy to make accessing benefit and similar help more accessible. You will have to show you are experiencing financial or welfare hardship, including any evidence where possible. For example, financial statement, bank statements, evidence of debts, or medical evidence. Financial or welfare hardship could be because of caring responsibility, ill health or sickness, dependents, children, some kind of debt. You will need to show you already in debt, and that you're making the full deduction would mean making the full deduction of hardship of the debt could mean you couldn't cover your basic living costs. These are the complexity. The reason I'm talking about it to demonstrate how complex it is, and which is not necessary. The kind of policy which should be changed radically to make people access benefit. But to my mind, accessing benefit is one problem, but the main problem with benefit is the level of payment being very low. So if you or your partner are self-employed or employed or self-employed, Department of Work and Pension should pause your repayments if you earn a certain amount. This is called the earnings threshold. Pausing your payment means they want to see what goes on in your level of payment. If you work, if you are paid at least the earnings threshold for 6 assessment period in a row, your payments, your repayment should be permanently cancelled. We'll talk about the hardship payment when you are actually working for living. When you are working for living, I probably expect kind of like impacted on your universal credit. So your earnings threshold is weekly hours. You are expected to work multiplied by your minimum wage. Check your minimum wage. So your weekly hours depend on what work-related activity group you would be in. If you weren't working, if you are not sure, check what work-related group you would be in. And so, for example, your work group, the hours work focus interview, 16 hours work preparation group, 16 hours, all work related activity, and SHS site. And I will talk about this categorization. These are actually something called work related activity, which you are part of your claim and commitment, which is a type of complexity in addition to the rest of how the system is really complicated. So you look at work preparation, and also this is 16 hours. So work related activity are set in your claim and commitment group. Usually it's 35 hours. That is an equivalent of full time for purposes of claiming benefit. So if you live with your partner, your earnings thresholds will be added together to create one joint threshold. If you start earning more than the threshold, contact the Department of Work and Pension and check they will stop your repayment. We'll talk about hardship repayment as being in debt. If you have an online account, report a change by using your account to send a message to your work coach. You can also call the Universal Credit Helpline, but this is likely to take longer as you might have to wait for someone to answer. If you don't have an online account, you should call the helpline, Universal Credit Online. You can get it actually on gov.uk. And thank you so much. Continue watching. Stay tuned. So essentially, if you're contacting Universal Credit Helpline, well, like I said previously, it is Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Calls are free from mobiles and landline. Paying back a hardship payment, you will get less Universal Credit each month until you pay the hardship payment back. The Department of Work and Pension will reduce your payment by up to 25% of your standard allowance, and this is the basic amount you will get, not including extra amounts called elements. For example, if your payment is reduced by 25% of your standard allowance, and your standard allowance is usually £334.91 a month, your total payment would be reduced by £83 and 73 pence. We are talking about the benefit system in the United Kingdom, and the reason I'm talking about this policy, which I'm going through, is to actually see how complicated it is, and I'm inviting the government of any sort to think again about their policy, but most importantly, the level of benefit should go up. So going back to this material, if you think you won't have enough money to live on because you are paying back an hardship payment, contact your nearest citizen advice, for example, an organization in the United Kingdom which is actually advisors. They specialize in advice work, so they are not very easy to access in the same manner as a lot of other organizations might not be easy to access because of limited resources. So an advisor can help you budget or ask the Department of Work and Pension to take repayment at a lower rate. This is a type of negotiation which is what people go through. Just mentioning this so that people understand what your situation will be if you end up in a situation of benefit. So if you contact the Department of Work, you can ask the Department of Work and Pension to put off recovering the hardship payment for a period of time, or to reduce the amount deducted. In some rare circumstances, the Department of Work and Pension might decide to waive the deductions. For example, if you have severe health problems or financial hardship, if you are writing to the Department of Work and Pension to request a reduction or a waiver, explain your circumstances and the reasons why recovery is causing you hardship. And you will have to show you are experiencing financial or welfare hardship. Include any evidence where possible. For example, a financial statement, bank statement, evidence of debt, or medical evidence. Financial or welfare hardship could be because of carrying responsibilities, ill health or sickness, dependent children, some kind of debt. You will need sure you are already in debt, and that making the full deduction would mean you couldn't cover your basic living costs. We talk about your living costs, which appears to be reasonable, but this is actually a problem created by the benefit sanction, which should be scrapped as a policy. The reason I'm actually going through this to demonstrate, because I've mentioned elsewhere already how complicated the system is. So I'm providing a bit of information to demonstrate how the complexity of the system. And my appeal is to make sure these complexities either are removed or actually reduced substantially. Thank you so much. Continue watching. Stay tuned and subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed before. Thank you so much. And if the Department of Work and Pension decide you are not eligible for the hardship payment, you can ask them to rethink their decision. This is called mandatory consideration. If you have new evidence or your circumstances have changed since you first applied, include this information with your request. Thank you so much. So this mandatory consideration, we have actually discussed that you go through what is a really complex process. Therefore, this process may not be necessary, except in it should not be a standard practice, because it creates a lot of problems for people who are already overly stressed. But this is to demonstrate how complicated government policy can be, and also in practice it can be an impossibility for people who might not be actually highly learned in policy. So let us look at hardship payment in the universal credit for your universal credit. If your universal credit has been cut because of a sanction or a penalty for fraud, and you might be able to get some emergency money to help you cover household expenses like food and bills. And it appears to me this is called hardship payment. The hardship payment is a loan, so you will usually have to pay it back when your sanction ends. The job center will usually get the money back by taking an amount of money from your universal credit payment each month until it is paid off. You can apply for a hardship payment to help you until your next universal credit payment payday. If you are still in hardship payment, the following month you will need to apply for another hardship payment. If you are struggling with money, there are things you can do to save on the cost of living. Check what to do if you need help with the living costs. Let us look at the eligibility. You can only get a hardship payment if you meet the following sanction conditions. You must be 18 or over 16. If your payment is reduced because of fraud, you must be struggling to meet your basic needs or the basic needs of a child or a young person you are responsible for. Basic needs include accommodation, eating, food, or hygiene. You will only be eligible if the reason you can't meet these needs is because of the sanction. You must have made every effort to start spending money, to stop spending money on non-essential things. The job center expects you to do only spend money on meeting basic needs. So they might expect you to spend less on entertainment or leisure activity. You must have done everything you can to get money from other sources before you can apply. The job center should be reasonable about what you can do in your circumstances. For example, you won't be expected to sell your belongings, move house, or get bank loan or credit card, but you could be expected to ask friends or family for money, looking for other benefit. Example from your local council or local charity, or ask for extra hours if you work. You must have done all the work-related activity that you were supposed to do in the 7 days before you apply for hardship payment. Thank you so much. Continue watching. Stay tuned.
So thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, click the notification bell, share with family and friends. And we have come to the end of this program on money in the United Kingdom given to the United Kingdom government, to the United Kingdom people by the UK government. And this is part one of this last segment, and part two will also feature the similar. That this it will also mark the end of the beginning of this program on financing given as income to the British people, to people who need it by the UK government.